Hello,
Okay.
welcome, and thank you for attending. I'll try not to be boring. I'll try not to be political and sort of go into sort of like deep stuff, so it's going to be quite light-hearted. I have a title, which is The Rogue Chromosome. You will decide what that rogue chromosome is by the end of this waffle. I'm going to be winging it right the way through, so bear with me on that one. The rogue chromosome. At the moment of conception, we are all in possession of 2 X chromosomes. A few days perhaps after conception, we may suddenly have a Y chromosome introduced into the mix. And for 98% of the world's population, you are born either X chromosomes, which is female, or XY chromosomes, which is male. 2% of us are born with a condition called Klinefelter syndrome, where we have 2 X's and a Y chromosome. So we are very much on the fence. We're both male, female, and we're neither fully male or fully female. So that's the basics behind it. And as I say, it's for you to decide which of those chromosomes are the rogues and which are not. When I was born, in the middle of the last century, it seems it's a long time ago, we didn't have scans and things like that. Parents didn't know what their offspring would be until the moment of birth. My parents asked, what have we got? And all they could say was, you have a little baby. They were not able to determine, because it was all done by physicality, your physical appearance. They couldn't decide. So I was just a baby. That was it, end of. And I was also born with blue blood. Nothing to do with aristocracy. My mum had toxemia, which meant that the blood that I inherited from her was toxic. It was blue, which it meant that I had to have a complete blood change over a period of weeks. Plus all the other anomalies, it meant I was in hospital for about 7 months while they tried to sort everything out. After about 18 months, they decided I needed corrective surgery because I have both male and female reproductive organs, almost a complete set of both. And that would have caused major problems later on in life during sort of pre-puberty and during puberty. It would have caused untold damage, so that needed to be corrected. So it's easier to take away than it is to add. So they took away all the female reproductive system that I got, which was underdeveloped anyway. But it meant, because of the time that we lived in, the 1950s, there was a huge stigma about people not being perfect, not having the right number of fingers and toes, arms and legs, etc. So we were thought of as a bit strange, a bit freakish. If I'd been born in the 1850s, I could have made a fortune on the front of Blackpool in one of the freak shows. That's how it was all viewed back then. So, as the firstborn, my family are quite respected and well known in Oxfordshire. They decided that their firstborn was a bit, it was like the firstborn was the runt of the litter.
'Oh God, no.
So I was farmed off to my grandparents on my mum's side until I was ready for school, and then went to boarding school. I spent holidays at my grandmother's, and Christmases I was at home. So I didn't really get to meet my family or know my family at all. I still don't know some of them. I've obviously met them, but I don't know much about them. So I went through life being completely uncertain of who I was. At the age of 5, the first day at school, everybody was in the playground and the bell went, or the whistle, whatever, I can't remember exactly what it was, and everybody formed up in boys that side, girls that side, and we had separate entrances into the school. I hadn't got a clue which queue I needed to be in, which doorway was relevant to me, and that was my first experience of not knowing who I was. It created problems during school, obviously. I couldn't take part in sports. I was traumatised. The thought of going into a changing room with either boys or girls was hugely traumatic, and I couldn't do that. It was just, so I lived in the library. While everybody else was kicking a football around or playing netball, I was in the library reading everything and anything that I could get my hands on. And that went right the way through the school years. I left school and went to college. I was funded through music college. So I ended up in an industry which was full of very creative people, very individual people, very unique people. So I was instantly accepted. There was no big issue about that whatsoever, about anything. You were who you were. And it was the first time in my life that I had the opportunity to be honest. All the way through my childhood and my early years, I felt like a fool. I was deceiving people. I was lying to people. They weren't seeing the real me. I wasn't. I didn't want to put myself in a position of danger by being honest, by being real. So it was quite a non-fun place to be. But I battled through and came out the other side okay. I'm now, after the liberating 60s and the 70s and the 80s, we're now in a place where I now feel unsafe again because of society's ideologies and belief systems. There are, and it's a growing movement out there that believe you are either male or you're female. You can't be anything else. So theoretically, do I exist? Are you listening to an entity that doesn't exist? I don't know. That's people have an opinion, and those opinions are valid, although I don't agree with them. So although it's an unsafe world, it's a good world to be in. I don't belong to any communities. I don't identify with the transgender community because I don't believe that I am transgender. I'm not a male presenting as female. I'm me. With all my complexities, I'm just me. And that goes for everybody. We can all say that in honesty. I am me. With all my quirks, my uniqueness, I am me. So now, instead of hiding behind a mask, living in obscurity, in the darkness, in the shadows, I'm out and I'm loud and I'm pouring and I'm real. And what you see is what you get.
And you're Kate.
And I'm Kate. I get asked silly questions sometimes.
And you're never boring.
The one question I get asked quite a lot is, how long have you been Kate? Well, since October 1950, actually. I've always been Kate. I've never always allowed people to be aware of that. But that's who I am. It's who I've always been. And had it not been for a lady not a million miles away from here, some years ago, saying, I've got this project, I'm doing a thing called Inside Out, and we want to explore the normality of people that live an alternative lifestyle, predominantly the LGBT community. Would you like to be a victim? Well, I think she used the word model, but the word victim sounds more appropriate. And against my better judgment, I said, yeah, okay. So I ended up down on North Pier with this outrageous outfit and stupid wig. We did a photo shoot down, and I actually enjoyed it. It was kind of liberating. I was outside, I was mixing with other people, and I was not being judged or mocked. I was being accepted. And then a few months later she said, right, come on then, get your camera out, we're going to go shooting, wandering around Blackpool. And it was the most nerve-wracking experience of my life. And I'm somebody that when I was working, I would be physically sick before I went on stage. This was more nerve-wracking than those experiences. But because I've got such a great support network behind me, a great bunch of really strong, powerful people behind me, propping me up, supporting me, groaning at my one-liners. I'm where I am today, and that's the story of me. That's who I am. Now the rogue chromosome, does it exist? Is it the X? Is it the Y? Who is the real me? Am I here?
Oh God, yes.
Oh yes, we see.
It's that's my story, and it's for each and every one of you to read into the story what you will, and come to your own conclusions or your own opinions. Even though they may be counter to what I think, they're still valued and still valid. So, any silly questions?
I was going to say, do you think it's given you some advantages in different ways?
Yeah, it's a gift and it's a curse in equal measure. I think if I hadn't had that surgery early on, I would have been a full-on tomboy. I really would. So yeah, I'm able to view things from both sides. It's a strange situation because of the chromosomic structure. I can wake up some days and I can be so full on. I want to get cracking. I want to build this, or I want to destroy that, or and then other days I just. Let's take my nails. Let's do something about them. You experience the whole range of emotions, both male and female. I can shout at the television if I'm watching motorsport. I love motorsport. I can shout at that obnoxious little Dutchman that keeps winning everything. I can shout as loudly as the next. And then the next day I'll be watching Downton Abbey with tears running down my face. It's a curse and it's a gift.
Do you conscious? Are you aware? And can you say? Can you consciously identify this is a male? I'm feeling male. I know I feel male. Feeling female, and I know I feel female.
Yes. Yeah. Once again, it depends on how your hormones are behaving. Literally from just before puberty, I was being fed a cocktail of testosterone-based rubbish, which wasn't great. It wasn't good. And then later on, I was reversing that with effectively a HRT treatment to try and get that balance back to where it should be. So yeah, some days you wake up and you question who you are, you know, and that's not a nice place to be. You sometimes you have to go through that sometimes.
Yeah, and I think we all, you know, I know sometimes I feel, you know, what more masculine than feminine. I've got the masculine side, because if you look at the yin and yang, we all have a drop of the opposite within us. And I know if I can get in a rage and feel very butch about it, and then I can feel, and what I don't think that's learned, because there is a real difference between male and female. It's not just.
I try and convince myself that there is no male or female element. It's what society said is male and female.
Yeah,
Absolutely, exactly what I was just thinking. What you're saying is that when you wake up and feel like, right, I really want to get on with knocking that wall down and putting those screws in the wall and getting the drill out, society has decided that's male.
That's a male.
Yeah.
And so it makes buying into what we do with society's preconceptions and rules, that makes a biological female feel like she's being really tomboyish. We have a word for it, a tomboy. You all know me, and no, I'm not a tomboy. Climb up ladders and pace the wall. But I'll also sit down and talk about, oh man, I love your nails, you know.
Yeah.
But we have decided as society what behaviours and emotions constitute female and male.
Yeah.
But that's only because we have decided that. There is no that feeling that way is male or feeling that way is female.
It's what they call a social construct.
Absolutely, and that's actually all it is a social construct.
And
it doesn't exist.
It's always changing as well.
Yeah.
As society changes, the ebb and flow of we live in a world now where you're allowed to be a strong, powerful female and not be kind of people going, oh, she's really butch, you know. Because society has changed, we have adapted and become more aware and all the rest of it.
A lot of the attitude towards strong women is a patriarchal thing.
Yes.
It's almost the patriarchy feel threatened by strong women. Their position of superiority is under threat. You know,
And I think also.
I did say I wouldn't get political with this one, but
You can't avoid that. And I think also it's a class thing, because the women working down the mines, hauling the trolleys, there was nothing weak about them.
No.
You know,
No.
different classes have it, you know, and it's a very, you know, at the bottom of the scale, they didn't know what weakness was, you know.
John and I were members of a golfing society down in the south. I was new to golf. And members of, John was a member, I was a guest. I played with them for 7 months. They have a meeting once a month. John had a chat with various guys about putting me forward to be a member. They put me forward to be a member. I was seconded by 2 people actually, and they turned me down. And we arrived at the next event, and one of the guys, who was a bit anyway, he explained exactly why they turned me down to John. And we came away from that. John told me what he'd said, and I was like, wow, they're actually breaking the law, never mind anything else, they're breaking the law of the land. And that guy there has just confirmed that. John got very, very upset about it, because he said, this is so misogynistic, they're just terrified of you beating them. That's the problem, that they're terrified you might win, because as a guest, you've already beaten most of them anyway. And they can't have you winning a trophy with your name on it. We looked around here, We joined the Nango Golfing Society, where joining was exactly the same for me as it was for John. We filled the form in, they proposed us, we got given the welcome kit. We've joined another society in the southeast where some of our families still are. We signed up, joined exactly the same, no problem. First day I was a member with them, I went out and I won my first tournament. Nobody got upset, nobody got in a mood, nobody had, I won't use the phrase I said, but I suggested that nobody's anything dropped off. And they were welcoming and delighted for me to have a first tournament win. This other society is full of a bunch of men who are terrified of me being there and winning. What is that about? It's 2024.
We have, you have an issue obviously with misogynists. I have problems with misogynists. I have problems with radical feminists. I fight a battle on two fronts.
You must find it quite strong.
I will continue with that battle. I will continue to be me. And I can only be that.
Yeah, I was going to say you must have had some very funny moments though, and it's a bit of a trump card to pull.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it's not all doom, gloom, and trauma and bad stuff. There's some hilarious stuff that, you know.
Kate, do you feel like being part of the arts community's helped you?
Massively.
Good.
Had it not been for the arts community, I would have continued to be a recluse. Which is where you found me when you
I remember.
first approached me about it.
How did you two meet?
Through the exhibition, we spoke about her being part of an exhibition that we were doing about the LGBTQ, and Kate came down to be part of that, and I took some photographs of her on the pier.
So you met, but how did you know about Kate?
It was Jill found you.
Jill, a photographer that Dawn was working with on the project, she commented on a photograph of a girl outside
Of
Greg's.
the girl outside Greg's, yes.
And she wasn't very complimentary about the girl. It was a comment that she made out of innocence rather than ignorance. And she made a comment about this girl, and I said, I happen to know this girl. She has Klinefelter syndrome, and I went into a little bit of detail about what that was and how that affected her. And she was so apologetic and had no idea. Oh my God, I'm sorry. She was literally breaking down because of it. And then it was Jill and Dawn's exhibition together.
And then you came and joined in.
As one of the, was about a dozen of us?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
How many people do you think suffer with this?
The current figures are 2 to 2.2% of the world population, which doesn't sound a lot, but that's diagnosed. A lot of people go through the whole of their lives with this syndrome completely unaware of it. They just think, oh, God, I'm a bit girly, what's going on here? You know, or they make because they're not acting or responding in a way that is expected of their gender. You know, they just think they just go through a bit of a silly phase or whatever. So they're not actually diagnosed. The actual figure is probably near 7%. But the 2% that are diagnosed is a greater number than the number of natural redheads in the world.
Yeah.
There are more of us than there are natural redheads in the world. And we all know how they've been stigmatised and picked on over the years as well. You know,
because of my interest in music, Kate, we have lots of chats about music and your career in the music industry, which is fascinating. 2 questions, I think. Firstly, are you okay having those conversations? Was that person still Kate, or was that another time and another place?
that person was always Kate. although not immediately recognisable as Kate. I've always had a thing about hats, and it got me into a lot of trouble later on in my career. When I came back from working in the States, I joined a symphony orchestra. I'd had enough of pop music. I wanted to get something more complex, more textured, more layered. And I joined the symphony orchestra. And I turned up for rehearsals one day, and we got a brand new conductor. And he looked across and he looked at everybody and he tapped on his rostrum and he pointed at me. I went, hat off. And I went, it's a rehearsal, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
So he sent one of the violinists at the back, it was a percussionist, sent one of the violinists up to the back of the stage. I said, Mr. Rattle said, would the Pratt with a hat do as he's told?
Oh, we're talking about
Simon Rattle.
The legendary conductor.
He was brand spanking new, he just started his career at that time.
Wow.
Yeah. So I became known in the orchestra as the Pratt in the hat.
But you kept your hat.
I was going to say,
I kept the hat.
Very
I
good.
didn't wear it for performances, you know, I had to wear a collar and tie and I think it was a lounge suits with it.
So you were presenting yourself in the standard male image at that point. Had you always, at that point, been presenting yourself in the standard male image?
No. During the 60s, the latter part of the 60s and through the 70s, we had this colour explosion in the music scene. I had some of the most garish, overly coloured caftans. I love caftans. And I, you know, I appear on stage, I'd probably wear a cape or something like Rick Wakeman's kind of, you know, crazy stuff. So you were allowed to be androgynous. You could have that androgynous look at that time.
And there were many women at that time that went for the really short cropped hair.
No.
There were women going for that.
Yeah.
The twiggy short haired look.
Yeah, well, the quant thing was very much.
Very
yeah.
sort of long, rectangular.
I was more the Shrimpton sisters than quant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so I could be androgynous, but I still had to mask and be deceitful about who was behind the mask.
And so,
and it causes problems as well. Because you're born with this strange set of chromosomes, you, in 90% of cases, you don't have a sexuality. You're not straight, you're not gay, you're not lesbian, you're not bi, you're absolutely, you can form very strong bonds with people, but those bonds they're not physical, they're not sexual, they're not even romantic. They're just like very strong platonic friendships. And that makes life so uncomplicated as well. It really does. But it does mean that because you can never be a parent. That's one of the other curses. You can never be a parent because you don't have the equipment in working order to become a parent. You know, either male or a female parent. You miss out on the gift of having children, and that's probably my biggest regret, that I couldn't be a parent. God knows then what child will want me as a parent anyway, you know, I mean, for heaven's sake, you know, I've probably done that kid a favour.
Your calling was something else.
But yeah, it's...
But it's okay, just to continue where you went with that then, because that was what you were talking about at the moment is really interesting, so don't think you're being boring ever. You now present yourself predominantly in the female presentation, do you feel?
I don't even,
or are you still
to be honest, I don't even give that a thought.
you just get up and put your clothes on like the rest of us.
I get up in the morning, I go and have a bath or a shower, and I go back into the bedroom and I look at rails. I'm a shopaholic. You know, I am. You know, my name's Kate, and I'm a shopaholic. I'll look at all the rails and I think, what's going to work today?
What suits my mood?
And it could be jeans and a t-shirt. It could be a nice top and skirt. It could be anything.
That androgynous mentality is there of just
Yeah.
what mood am I
It
in,
is
what do I want
works
to
for you
wear
at that
today.
moment in time, and what's comfortable. You know, I mean, I get not now because I think they've come to recognise who I am. I used to get slated by people within the community, within the trans community, because I didn't go night clubbing on a Friday, Saturday, and I didn't wear clothes that would be more fitting for Barbie doll or my grey daughter. You know, I don't wear spiked heels and fishnets and all that. So, yeah, you wear what's comfortable. You know, forget fashion. So if I look at the wardrobe and I think, bloody calm down now, I'll dig out something warm, you know. And if it's thermals, it's thermals, you know.
Me too.
I'm not a slave to fashion or having a specific look. And I'd rather wander around town and people completely ignore me, overlook me, not even see me. Because I'm just another face in the crowd. I'm just another resident of the town.
We were human.
Yeah.
You're Kate.
I don't have a label. I'm just me. If that's